What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the 13. I'm your host, Ryan 13, but today it's a little different. We're doing somebody else's show. I have potentially stolen or received Frequency Theorist from Expanding Reality. So instead of it being over at Expanding Reality, it's going to be over at the13podcast.com from now until whenever. It may be a whole thing, but over here, it's not behind a paywall. You get it for free. Today, we are joined by Mark Olly and Marisa Love, and there are a few potential guests that may show up at any given moment, and we'll see what happens. And we're going to have a great conversation about music, memories, time machines, and the beyond. So get ready. Here we go. What's up, guys?
Whoop, whoop. What's going on? Happy to be here.
Glad to be here from the UK, all across the pond.
You know, that reminds me of one of the few guests that may show up is Sean. Mark, you know Sean. He is over there in Scotland, and he's playing a show right now. And he said, if I can jump on, there's going to be a castle in the background. I don't know what that means.
Oh, yeah.
But maybe I do. Maybe we'll get a cool castle in the background.
Yeah.
Epic.
All I
have is this dumb blanket. I want a castle.
I want a castle.
I haven't got any background at all. I think I did for one of them. I actually moved into the conservatory and had the garden, but it's actually pitch black over here now, so there's no point.
Oh, yeah, that's true, because now we're moving into the fall, and so the sun goes down way earlier, probably.
That's the autumn, not the fall of civilization as we know it.
Might be. I don't know. These things are weird.
At the moment, anything could happen.
So what time is it getting dark over there now? Like 7?
Yeah, 7:30. You've had it. You can't use cameras outside after 7.
We finally started having rain. We haven't had rain in 7, 8, 9 months, and it started raining, and it's rained for like the last 3 days almost straight, and it's been magical. And like the temperatures gone from 110 to 82, and you know, we're at Fahrenheit, and we're like, oh my god, this is great, because we're not.
That's the opposite over here. We've actually had a summer for about 3 or 4 days when it got to a staggering 20-something degrees, and now it's chucking it down again, and it's freezing cold. Oh, no. So we have the opposite problem here.
All right. So one of the things I wanted to talk about on this episode is the power of music and what it can do to you, like mentally and physically. So, you know, in the show opener, I always say on the 13, I always say that music does something to you, and you can physically see it by the hair on your arm standing up, or on the back of your neck, or you get the chills, or you get a fucking emotion that just makes you. It triggers you. You start crying immediately. Maybe you just get super happy or whatever. What do you guys think? What do you think that is? I know it's a deep, crazy question, but like, I literally lost my shit twice this week crying because I hadn't listened to music in a long time. I heard 2 great songs and I like lost it. And it was a release I really needed. But like, what is it that music pulls? How does it pull that out of us?
I mean, where my brain immediately goes is hypnosis. It's like a form of hypnosis.
Okay.
And so you can choose to do it to yourself, right? When you pick what track to put on or what record to throw on. But if you're like listening to the car radio, you're not in control of that. I mean, you can change it, obviously, but it's just like, how much input musically are we in control of in this modern world, right? And like yesterday, you were talking about how you hadn't listened to music for a while. You had like a little block of time where you were just like checked out. And I just think that's so interesting, especially because you're a musician. I'm a musician. I feel like I'm more of a singer than a musician. Like I pick up a guitar and it just yells at me like, you suck, and I'm like, I'm fine, it's still fun. But I've also had those spells, and it's just such a strange thing, because then when you return to it, even if it's a song you've listened to like 500 times, it's like an old standby that you've been listening to since you were 19. You can hear it in a new way just based on the new experiences that you now have put into your toolbox of life. Whereas like, you know, like say Natalie Imbruglia, Torn. Remember that song from the 90s? Yeah. Like I equate that song with being in the middle school bathroom, putting on my makeup, because I didn't put on makeup at home. It was like makeup I stole from the drugstore. I would secretly put it on at school. And it was like blue mascara. And there were these 2 girls, and their names were Precious and Special. Whoa. Not kidding. And they always drew their eyebrows on in the bathroom with me. and they would like turn to me and be like, "Are they even?" And they were never even, but I always lied to them and
Right.
said,
Yeah.
"Yeah, they're even." And we, for some reason, that song was always like playing in that room. But
Time machine.
now
It's a time machine.
it's a time machine, yeah. But now, like, I hear that song completely differently because I've experienced that kind of like heartbreak that she was singing about. But in that moment, I had no fucking clue what she was talking about. So it's
Wow.
just, it's a weird thing how the same songs can sound differently when you've taken a break from them.
I don't know if you
Absolutely.
count. I don't know if you count drummer as a musician. I suppose I am. It's usually what makes up a band. Oh,
I,
4 musicians and a drummer.
it's real.
So
No, it's really the drummer and the bass players what make up the whole band. So it's you and me, Mark,
hey,
right here.
hey, spoken like a truly experienced professional. Yeah. So for me though, the weird thing is very often it's the melody side of it because I did a very similar thing to yourself where I got an old CD that I was listening to loads back in the mid 2000s, and I kind of threw it in the car stereo, and I think it was Nightwish, and it was followed by
Nice.
a track by a really obscure band called Kino, who were a spin off from It Bites, and these two tracks came up one after the other, and like you say, every hair on my body just stuck up, and
Yeah.
it wasn't that it didn't take me back to a particular time, it just somehow supercharged me, if that's the right word.
Yeah.
It was like I'd stuck my fingers in an electric plug socket and it had just gone bam. And it was just a combination of that intangible, rhythm, musical melody, and not so much the vocals on those two though. More what was going on in the background. The keynote track in particular is bonkers because it's got this short section in it where the drums play one thing and the guitar plays something else, the bass player plays something else, keyboards play something, a typical progressive sort of nonsense. But for some reason, it all kind of holds together. So it's what would happen if you tried to play a song over a drum solo. And for me, that kind of chaos and order just gets me going.
Yeah.
That, and
Absolutely.
once you crank the bass drum up as well, and it's pounding in the middle of your chest, there's a physical kind of a wavelength frequency thing going on there. Back to
What?
frequency theorists again. Once it hits you, I mean, you're not really getting there in heavy rock and heavy metal unless the front 5 or 6 rows are filling the shorts when the bass comes in. I mean,
Dude, you and me talked about this, and one of the
we did,
shorts,
yeah, we
one of
did,
my
yeah.
shorts and TikToks or whatever have the most views on it is you and me talking about poop.
Yeah, I
And
remember that. Yeah,
it's fun.
yeah,
It's fun. Like, yeah, it was great.
yeah,
The first few rows just lose their shit when you hit a
yeah,
certain dB. It's my
yeah,
favorite part. What's the name of the song that you were talking about?
Oh gosh, do you know what, that I was trying to avoid that.
Okay, well, get back to
All
how
I can
about
tell
this?
you is the
Get back
both
to
of
this
the
one.
both of the songs were around sort of, let's say, 2005,
Okay.
2006, 2007. The Nightwish one is just one track on their particular album. It's not my favorite album of all time. Is One. That album
Yeah.
is just amazing, but
Yeah.
it's not on that album. It's from somewhere else. But the Kino one, I think Kino have only ever released one album,
Okay. So
and
that'll
it's
be
only
easy
got
to find.
5 songs on it. I
All
think
right.
that's
So I'll
it.
find I'll find it somehow.
Yeah. We'll find it.
Cool. No, I love that, dude. So like one of the things Marisa, you were touching on, like going back, you remember this song, and all of a sudden you're in junior high and you're
Mhm.
in the
And you can,
bathroom.
I can like smell the bathroom still, I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah,
There's a thing
weird.
there's a thing about the seasons changing. And since we were talking about that earlier, it's like when you walk outside, let's say we're listening to the music of the earth or whatever, and we're walking outside, and the first bit of fall comes through. And for us in Texas, it's a big freaking deal because you've just suffered an enormous amount of death for fucking 6 months. And now the temperature dropped 3 degrees and you can smell it, and and then you see the wind blowing through the trees and the whole thing, and you get this feeling. And I can smell fall right now, even though it's technically hasn't really happened here. Like, I just by thinking about this, I can do that. And the same goes with music. So there's, golly, like, I'm just gonna pick one. Smells Like Teen Spirit by Nirvana. Random. Okay, random. But that takes me back to the 90s and seeing it on MTV for the first time and going, I don't know what I'm watching, but I really, really like this. And I'm not even necessarily a Nirvana fan, but I am now currently, while I'm thinking about that, at my uncle's house, watching it on cable because he's the only one who had cable. And I can smell the house. I can smell the old dog, McGruger. His name was McGruger. And Wow, it does. Music does transport you through time. I want to know why. Like, I don't understand. Like, it's Robster Lobster's about to jump in.
Woohoo.
I don't understand why music can transport you through time like this.
I mean, is it like some kind of cellular memory situation that I don't have the proper vocabulary to even speak on? But that's what comes to my mind.
It could be. I mean, I don't know. Like that, I literally legitimately have no idea, but it does. It takes you back somewhere.
It's definitely a trigger. No doubt about that. It's definitely a trigger. Memory trigger.
What's
Hello.
up, Lobster? This is Robsta The Lobster, everybody. He's one of my oldest friends. I've known him forever. He's a great musician and skeptic of everything and here to be a thorn in my side, as he said the other day.
Perfect. What up? I love your shirt, clearly.
Oh, he's got lobsters on it. Damn it, lobster.
Yay. He also appears to be in a moving vehicle.
Yeah.
That might be a first.
He's pretty good about joining the podcast in a car. Anyway, he's got the.
Hey, I'm here. Sorry, my audio's working now. You hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you just fine, man.
How's it going, guys?
Hey, everybody. So go ahead, Lobster. You know what? We're going to do some introductions because I just realized that we're starting a new show over here for us. And maybe y'all haven't seen everyone who's on the screen before. Maybe you have. But let's, Robster, you start since you just joined.
Hey, I'm Robsta Lobster, Rob Nelson. I am IT guy out in Austin. I've known Ryan for a long time. We've been friends, and I can't see everyone that's on the call right now. I'm sure I know some of you. I don't know who all I know, but yeah, that's all I got. I just had some Mexican food, and I'm sorry I'm running a little late here.
It's all good, dude. Sean might jump in. Sean Boy might jump in at some point too. So, but he's doing a show as well. Marisa, tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Hello, my name is Marisa. Thank you for saying my name right. It just means it's like I get a high every time someone says it right, even though I'm 39 and it's been a lifelong thing. What's interesting is we were just talking about this song that takes me back to middle school. And it was in middle school, I started writing my name in cursive, Marisa Love, but that's my married name. Yeah. So I ended up marrying a guy with the last name of Love. And in middle school, I was already writing that. So it's just this strange thing. So that's my name. I live in the Catskills in a tiny cabin that has lots of mice in the attic that I've been relocating for a few weeks. So that's been fun. My business is the Ladybug line. I do, as Brandon says, freaky woo woo. I'm a psychic medium. I talk to animals, all that fun shit. And I recently hooked up with Ryan and was on his other podcast, and now we're just the best of friends, right, Ryan?
We are, absolutely. You're my new best friend. I've been telling Brandon that. Like, it's
I sent you a necklace.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Met another. I was like, how did I meet a person that just became my friend through the internet? Like, for real. Like, but I mean, that's the same with Mark. Me and Mark have never met each other in real life. I think we're friends. Mark,
I'm probably your oldest friend. Old in the old sense. No, I'm only joking. Historian, archaeologist, book writer, drummer, occasional television presenter and television producer. Last thing I did was Ancient Aliens, crop circles. So that might tell you where I'm coming from. Do all kinds of crazy stuff. You know what I mean? That's kind of, it's been my life for the last 20 years doing crazy stuff. But also at the same time, loads of mysteries. I talk to animals too. I used to rescue crows. So that's amazing. Yeah. I've had five different ravens.
Aren't ravens assholes?
Yes, they are. There you go. Bad PR for ravens, but yeah, they are totally. And the last one we had was particularly bad because he was a drunkard. But that's a long story. We couldn't release him in case he went nicking stuff from the pubs at the back of the house. Because he'd land and just put his head in your beer. All that sort of stuff. Magic, witchcraft. I did used to be able to see the future up to the point of COVID coming in, which I saw coming, but then I've not been able to see past that. So I assume I'm just not supposed to know. But that might be another book in the making. You never know. I have got a pretty good track record of getting things right. So, yeah.
Dude, awesome.
Yeah.
I definitely need to know more about the crow that drinks alcohol, like that, or the raven that drinks alcohol. That seems like a fun story. Well, okay, cool. So
Yeah.
Robster, that now that you're here, one of the things we started talking about before you showed up was that music can do something to you. It takes you back in time. It makes the hair stand up on your arms. It can make you emotional and cry. What the fuck do you think that is? And why do you think it does that? Do you have an opinion? As we switch over. There it is.
Yeah, I think music is just emotion. Yeah. And all we are is balls of emotion. And so that just, stimulates that which resides in us all. And yeah, and I think that's why it's such a necessary thing for people and populations and cultures and all that.
Okay, good answer. I'm just trying to get to the bottom of it because I want to know why I keep crying over stuff.
Yeah, I mean, music is such a cool way to like manipulate your own emotions. Like, when you're super sad, but for some reason listening to a sad song makes you happy.
Yes.
It has like the opposite effect. So if you're not enjoying what emotion you're feeling, you can put a song on, and like more often than not, it'll either do the trick or get you closer to doing the trick, to attaining whatever emotion is more desirable. It's just, I feel like it's such a tool for healing in that way, because you can dig down into whatever it is that's at the root of what you're already feeling and kind of unpack it. It's kind of like this fucked up band-aid that music is. You're like, okay, what's really happening? Let's put on 9 Inch Nails. Oh, there it is. Oh, there it is. Now I'm going to punch through a wall. Okay, now I feel better. Great.
I've done all those things. I've done all of those things.
I had a feeling.
There's you guys can't probably hardly see it, but right where my finger is pointing is a tiny stuffed squirrel. And it's in the door. And the reason it's in the door is because there's a fist-sized hole right there that I actually hit my shin coming out of here, and it was smarts. And instead of being like, oh, smarts, I fucking punched the door. And apparently that door is paper thin. And I have to replace the door now. That's another weird thing. Just so y'all know, that's the squirrel.
I'd have just moved the poster over.
Yeah, I thought I probably should have done it. I just thought it was funnier to put the squirrel's tail in the hole and just have him hanging out there.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
And then my dog, it's one of her toys, so she just comes in and stares at the squirrel, and it's fun. All right, man. Well, this is great. This is super fun being over here at the 13podcast.com doing Frequency Theorists. One of the things Brandon always does is he just poses weird questions and says, like, what do you think that's all about? And that's why we started out this way, because that's all I had. What do you guys want to talk about?
Well, I could jump in and tell you a little bit more about the crow. Oh, by the way, the other thing I didn't mention is I'm halfway between Liverpool and Manchester in the UK. That's where I am. So if you want to know about the Beatles, they were 16 miles that way. If you want to know about Oasis, they were 16 miles that way. So we're right in the middle. You know what I mean?
And Oasis just shows up in my head, and I immediately hear their song.
You gotta roll with it. That's the one we always get. But
and I'm immediately in high school.
Well, there you go. There you go. You see, the crow was just. We didn't know if it was male or female because you don't work out what they are till they're about 3 years old, and that's when they start to display with the feathers if they're female. And this one we called it Mitch. It actually was Michelle because it started showing with its feathers. But Mitch, no, I was sat there when it was tiny. It couldn't really fly because it was damaged. The feathers were not developing. And I was sat there one day with a sort of a whiskey and coke on my knee and a tall glass, not dissimilar to that one. And it landed on my knee and then just buried its head in this glass. And I'm like, oh, it's going to die, and then it pulls its head out, staggers backwards and falls on the floor. And it just kept doing that, 3 years of, you know what I mean? It would pinch your ice, it would pinch your fruit, it would drink your beer, it would anything, as long as it was in a glass. So there was not a chance we could let this thing go. We couldn't sort of reintroduce it into the wild because we've got about 6 pubs at the back here,
it'd just be at the pubs all day.
Oh yeah, it would give the crows such a bad PR. So it ended up, this is a beautiful ending to it. I took it to Birds of Prey sanctuary near here, and the person it bonded with was actually this young girl that was training birds, and she's now trained it. So it's a big bird now, and it does displays. It's part of their display team, so it's got a happy ending. So I've successfully rescued 5, and Mitch was number 5. So there you go. How do I manage to? I'm trying to segue into music from that.
Right.
And
well, like,
no, it's okay because the bird used to listen to music as well as drink beer.
I have a question about that. Like, what does it take to rescue a raven or a crow, and like, how do you go about that? Because there's actually one that's hurt over here in our neighborhood that my wife sees all the time, and it's got a hurt foot. And I was like, well, let's bring them into the house. And she was like, that's a terrible idea. I was like, you're probably right. But
well, four out of 5 of the ones that we succeeded with, we had as chicks, because they very often get blown out of the nests over here because, we don't have nice summers. We get some really rotten ones. And this one got blown out of a nest at my old house. But we were watching it develop. It was sat in a nest at the back of the garden. There were 2 of them. And we suspect that the other one that was in there was ahead of it, because you don't normally get 2 chicks, you only get 1. And this little one was spending loads of time on its own. Then it got blown out of the nest, and no word of a lie, the next minute it's on my doorstep. It's sat on the doorstep going, here I am, save me.
Right.
So we put it in a box, but then I thought, well, maybe the parents might want it back. So we used to leave this box on the windowsill with the window open at night. And for about a week, the parents came back and they would shout to each other. So presumably they're going, are you all right? And they're going, yeah, I'm fine. They're looking after you. Yeah, we're doing all right. Then after about a week, the parents then disappeared and took this other bird with them. And we just brought this thing up from a chick. Which was a challenge. I mean, it was a real challenge because it was very malnourished and its feathers were missing and all sorts. But we got it to adulthood, which is a bit of an achievement. The only one that we didn't have as a chick was a thing called a river crow. We get river crows over here, and they're about 3.5 feet tall. So that's pretty big. They're nearly over a meter. They're over a meter, and they have like a 5 foot, which is like 1.5 meter wingspan. They're absolutely enormous.
That's crazy.
Oh, they're big. They're just massive. They're the biggest crow you've ever seen. And we got this really grumpy one that, like you say, was a little bit ill. So at that point, we were building a greenhouse. So we kept it in the greenhouse, and it just got to the point where it couldn't look after itself. It couldn't feed. And I used to sit on the perch till this thing shoveled up next to me, and it would sit next to me, and we'd talk to each other, and that's the closest we got. It wouldn't come onto your arm or do anything, like that. And then after about 6 months, 7 months, it was back to normal, and we just took it back to where we found it, and it shot off like a Boeing 747. It was gone.
Did you ever get any of them to actually, like, because I know they can they can say words and stuff. Did you ever get any of them to actually like say stuff?
Yeah, I had one that was another female. I think it was crow number 3, and that would talk. It would say hello, and it would say good morning. And then I started to train Mitch, the one we just said goodbye to, and that said good morning once, and I think it said hello twice, and then that was it. They're supposed to have about 60 words in the vocabulary, and never had any success whatsoever with the last one. But I've had one.
This is so cool.
Talk, yeah.
I love how we just went on. I love how we just went on to talking about crows and stuff. I literally right here have the giant movie poster of the crow.
And biggest crow fan
ever.
To
say, was your favorite movie, Ryan?
Yeah, the crow. And me and Marisa have been talking about this over the last week or so. But like, there's a new poster for the new Crow movie that's coming out, which is, it's supposed to be more like the graphic novel. Like the original one was like the graphic novel ish, but Brandon Lee died in the middle of it, so they didn't get to finish. They didn't get to do it like the graphic novel. This one, the author James O'Barr is supposedly working hand in hand with everybody to make this exactly or very close to the graphic novel. So it's not a reboot. It's just it's like a new thing, but it's going to be hard to beat anything because everybody's so in love with the Brandon Lee one, which it should be because it's a beautiful movie. But I don't know. I'm excited. I can't wait. And they better have a badass score, because the score and the soundtrack to the original Crow was fucking fantastic, man. I remember getting that CD in 1994. I didn't even have a CD player, but I had the CD, and I would just open up the booklet and look at it and read all the band names like Pantera, Nine Inch Nails, The Cure.
I think I've still got it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's like the best soundtrack ever.
Yeah.
I mean, it's top 3 for me.
Yeah.
Of soundtracks for sure. That being said, what's everyone's favorite soundtrack? Do you have one?
I quite like the Matrix 1. That's pretty kick-ass.
That's got the Rob Zombie on it too.
It has, and there's some versions of things on there that you don't get anywhere else. You know, they're done for the movie, which is fabulous.
That's true.
I'll go with that one.
I like that. Was a good one. I listened to the crap out of that one. Marisa, what about you?
I mean, I'm just like, that immediately takes me back to all my 90s movies, you know, Empire Records. Like, I know that we share that. Josie and the Pussycats. There was something else in there that now I can't remember. But I think my most favorite, besides Josie and the Pussycats, because that's my real favorite, even though it sounds really not cool, is Les Miserables. Like, that fucking score, all of it's just like mind-blowing. I feel like every time I listen to it, it's like the first time I've heard it. Like, how is this so fucking powerful?
And now I want to go listen to it again.
Yeah, amazing.
Lobster, what do you think?
As soon as you say that, I'm immediately like, master of the house. That comes into my head, all that stuff. But soundtracks, I like listening to the Trent and Atticus Rose soundtracks a lot. For like Gone Girl and
their scores,
Dragon Tattoo, and the scores that they do. I really like those scores that they do together. They're really good. And then
that guy's a magician.
Music. They're crazy together, and that's pretty much he's been doing a lot of that. And then the Inception soundtrack, I like that one a lot too.
Oh, dude, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
What a great movie and what a great soundtrack, dude. Yeah, see, there's so cool things about soundtracks.
I actually meant Interstellar. Inception's good too, but the Interstellar one, like, I
have Interstellar on vinyl. I have it on vinyl.
Oh, nice. Yeah. That's a good one.
Great movie, and it's super great score and soundtrack. There's you know what's one we probably all need to recognize here is Dazed and Confused, because like they had all the good stuff on Dazed and Confused. You know, Low Rider and all the old classic, not old classics, but all the 70s classic songs. And
it wasn't the greatest movie, but I really like the soundtrack to Get Shorty. It was like a Danny DeVito and I think John Travolta or something like that in it. Yeah. But like it just had a great soundtrack. Yeah, it had a really good soundtrack to it.
Man, I don't know the soundtrack in my head. I can't even hear any of it, but I'm gonna go look it up as soon as we're done.
It's got that one, the green tomatoes or something that I don't know how I can't sing it off my head or anything like that, but it's got some good tracks on it.
Dude, right on. We're going to check that out. And you know what? The one thing Brendan does for Frequency Theorist is he always, and we'll do this at the end before we're done, because we're going to talk about a lot of music between now and then. But like he does a Spotify thing. And I don't know if I'm going to grab that from him or if I'll make a new Spotify playlist, but everyone who's listening or watching the Spotify playlist for this episode will be in a link below somewhere, because I'm going to keep that going too, because I always thought that was a great idea that Brandon had over at Expanding Reality. It was like, all right, everybody give us a song. And I always had to ask for 2, because I was like, well, I can't just give you one. To, the new 30 Seconds to Mars album was just released yesterday. And I'm like, I didn't know I liked pop music, because they used to be a rock and roll band and now they're apparently a pop band. But like, I liked it. And I'm now got 2 songs off that immediately. What are you guys listening to that's new? Like I said, for me, right yesterday, brand new, or what wasn't yesterday? It was 2 days ago. Brand new 30 Seconds to Mars came out. That's what I'm listening to. What are y'all into right now?
I could start off with the soundtrack. The last soundtrack I was impressed by was from the movie Sucker Punch. Ooh, because there's some tracks on there where they are modern bands doing some pretty good attempts at some of the older songs as well as the new ones. So that bridges the gap, as it were, between old and new. I'm still rocking Bring Me the Horizon, which nobody seems to have heard of because they're from Sheffield and they're British, and yay, jolly good. I'm still rocking a lot of the Bring Me stuff, and I'm off to see them in January, so I'm going to be immersed in them for quite some time.
Okay.
But
Bring
yeah,
Me
that's
Horizon.
my
Yeah, they're a great band,
yeah.
man. I hear them on. We have a thing over here called Sirius XM
Mm.
radio or whatever, satellite radio, and they play them on there on liquid metal all the time.
Well, check out the album Amo.
Okay.
Amo is the album that at the moment I'm particularly into. So it's not brand new, but then again, it's 20, whatever it is, 16, 17, 18, something like that. But check that one out. There's some great stuff on there.
Right on. Hell yeah. Thank you. I'm needing to take in all the music. That's why I'm posing the question. All right, Lobster or Marisa, which what are y'all currently listening to, or are you currently listening to anything?
Oh, I'm up. Lobster staring at me like, it's you, miss. I honestly, I haven't really been investigating new music lately. I've been going back
Okay.
to like old, again, like kind of 90s-esque um, singers. I don't even know if I really want to call them musicians, but we'll do that just because of who we are and where we are right now. And discovering all these albums that they have made since I was obsessed with them, and then I fell off. Like,
Yeah.
oh, you guys are still, it's still happening. Oh, you have like 9 albums. Okay, well, let's go through those. So that's been weird. I'm talking like, like Michelle Branch, Vanessa Carlton, like all of those kinds. Like,
Okay, right on.
like wow, it's still happening, and now they're older, like they're like me, and they've had kids, and it's just the strangest thing. So I've been doing a lot of that. Like recently, okay, so I have house rabbits, and I like to say that I put on calming music for the house rabbits, but I think that it's really for me. So I started putting on Dido recently, and I was like, ha ha ha, it's for the bunnies. And then I was just like, oh shit, Dido's really good, and I never knew. And I just went down a whole rabbit hole of Dido, and I was like, am I okay with this? Yeah, I'm okay with this. It's totally fine.
I'm immediately watching Dawson's Creek. Like, like I'm here. I'm immediately back in time again. See, look at it.
Yeah.
Lobster, what about you, man?
I've been doing Spotify and doing around. I mean, I went and saw Baby Metal in concert.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
Yeah, so it was Baby Metal
and Death Clock. So it was Baby Clock.
Yeah.
They actually had Baby Clock shirts, like, that had like they mixed logos kind of together.
No way.
Yeah. That was good.
How is that though? Like, I mean, I've seen Death Clock before, but like, I've never seen Baby Metal besides on the old internet. So how was that?
I mean, it was good. They rocked it out. I mean, they didn't do an encore or anything like that. They were both short sets. They think they both played for a little over 45 minutes, maybe 50 minutes or something. And then they had like a really good guitarist. I can't remember his name. They kind of did his own solo thing at the beginning for an opener. He was really good too. But yeah, no, it was great. It was really good. I'd never, I had seen videos of them before, and obviously they're much older than when they first came out. But yeah, no, they rocked it. They were like, there was a full pit going, and people got bruised and bloodied, and
those chicks do that. They do this.
They kind of do like a duck. It's more like a duck than like a rock thing,
Yeah, I love it. I think they're fantastic. Yeah. Well, they're very Japanese, little, right?
Like, synchronized dancing and stuff like that is really good.
But on Spotify, need like googly eyes for their duck hands. That would be an added bonus.
Well, just as a trivia, Baby Metal have actually done a track with Bring Me the Horizon. They've actually teamed up. Yeah, so there's one out there somewhere. If you like Baby Metal, go and check out Nova Twins. There's a band called Nova Twins. Go and check them out. They're particularly good, from London. They're exceptionally good. Look at this! Ryan's in his element here.
I've got to get something bigger than this little thing, but like I've got like everybody's suggestions that I'm writing down in neon green. But like I normally have like a book where I take all this stuff down, but I can't find a real pen, so my blackboard has become the
I just want to say, because I discovered them literally just the other day, Cat Bamboo. I've been really enjoying it. It's like math rock, but man, dude, yeah, I've just been really enjoying their stuff. I just found them on Spotify. I'm like, oh, this is great.
Dude, no, they're awesome, dude. Cat Bamboo, all this math metal type stuff is fucking, you're sitting there going, how did they write this out? Like when you go watch Meshuggah, I always call them math metal. They're a little bit easier to follow because they're kind of one of like for me, one of the ones, they didn't start it by any means, but like they're the ones that kind of popularized that version of that type of math metal. And you're like, listening to Meshuggah, what the fuck are they doing? Or let's go to King's X, because I worked for King's X. They don't do any math metal, but they disguise their signature in certain things like the song Pleiades, where you're listening to it and you're like, what fucking key, what tempo is this? And you can't think it. You're like, it's like 7/8 or something. You're like this thing doesn't, but it's in 4/4. It's just the way they're laying down their notes. It fucking, I don't know. I think it's crazy. And you ask these people, like, how did you do it? They're like, we just played this stuff. Like, it just came to them naturally. And I'm like, there's no way. I would have to write it out and maybe that's because that speaks to my musicianship. I'm not that great, but like, I would have to write it out, follow it, probably play it 478 times, and then go, I think we can hit the record button now, like, and then go for it. And hopefully it happens. You're a drummer, Mark.
Yeah.
So like, have you ever played any math metally stuff?
Oh, I've done all kinds of strange things. Probably over the years, there isn't a time signature I've not actually come to grips with. But I mean, I'm going to show my age here. It was I was thinking about this the other day about weird time signatures. There's the only one I couldn't get to grips with, because there's a friend of mine who does keyboards. He's in Arena and Pendragon, and occasionally he does Marillion. But he was his favorite album is Seconds Out by Genesis, and on there's this track called Apocalypse in 9/8. Now, if you really, really want to struggle with a time signature, I can't play that. I can play all the rest of it without any problem at all. But that bit, hats off to Phil Collins. I can't get my head around it at all. Yeah, well, no, it's one of these where you're listening to it and you're nodding your head, and there's definitely a beat there. Then all of a sudden it goes bang, and you're like, where the hell did that snare drum just come from? And then he'll put a roll in and you think, I don't even know where he started that. And then somewhere there's a couple of bass drums and you're like, what on earth is he doing? And you don't know how he gets into it. And then you don't know how he gets out of it either. So it's just bonkers. And then worse than that, he does it the same every time. So you're like, he's clearly not making this up, The other one that frustrates, the other one that frustrates everyone is Dire Straits. The rolls at the beginning of the one he did with Sting. What was that? Money for Nothing. Yeah, Money for Nothing. They go diddle diddle. I mean, it's in 4/4, so you could actually write the dots and work it out. But honestly, Apocalypse in 9/8. Go and have a listen to that. That'll just completely. That'll do your crust in no end. That, especially on Seconds Out, the live.
King Crimson also had some crazy time signatures too. Yeah, that drove me crazy.
Dude, King Crimson. I mean, talk about progressive. Like
I was going to say, the other one's Brand X. If you ever listen to Brand X,
I've never listened to Brand X.
Honestly, off its head. If you get Brand X with Phil Collins, there's some really. But Crimson, I'm totally with you there, Lobster. Crimson. The last albums that were bought for me last Christmas was Beat, Indiscipline, and Three of a Perfect Pair, which are the blue, the red, and the yellow from the 80s or early 90s, and they're just awesome. Absolutely awesome. Yeah, can't fault awesome. Bill Bruford's just incredible. But there you go.
You know what? Like, I don't know why this was just brought up, but there was a tour manager when we went over to Europe. His name is Bobo. He's tour managed for Nightwish and all, King's X. That's how I knew him, and a whole bunch of other bands. And one of the things he always said, and this is nothing to do with what we were talking about, it just popped into my brain, but he would always quote Frank Zappa. He always would say, when we were going to Paris, he'd be like, "There is no hell, there is only France." And I always thought, like, yeah, because fucking, I don't know, I haven't had that great of a time. Besides going up the Eiffel Tower, I was like, oh, this is beautiful. The people do not like Americans over there. I don't know what the deal was. Yeah. Maybe it's because we're rude and we don't know it, or maybe they're rude and they don't know. I don't know.
I've never been to France, but I've heard the trick is to tell them you're from Texas. The Americans, but then you say if you're Texan for some reason, I think you get a little bit more clout than American.
See, that's
the Texan.
That's
I don't know if that's true.
That's where me and Sean fucked up, because me and Sean, who's who comes on the show a lot and has been on Frequency Theorists a lot, Sean and me were in Paris, and we went down the street and they didn't speak English, or at least they didn't want to. And Sean called them French fries instead of chips. He was like, yeah, I want to get the French fries and this. And that was it. They said, all right, go sit over there. And we went and sat over there for 45 minutes while other people were coming in and they were serving them. and they never brought us our food. And when they finally brought us our food, it was cold and I'm pretty sure spit in. But that was 2009 when me and Sean were on tour with King's X. That was
harsh,
anyway.
man.
Yeah. Paris.
I don't think they're particularly fond of the Brits either, but I get away by telling them that I just live next door to the Beatles. That carries a lot of currency wherever you go.
I think, and the thing is, like, if you speak English over there, most of the time it's a very interesting, like my buddy Bobo, he's German. His name's Jens. Like he's very German, but when he speaks English, he sounds like he's from the UK. He has a UK German thing going. I know it's hard. Like I don't really run into people who speak English over there that don't have what I would assume is something similar to an English accent, I suppose, because it's the only thing I can relate. Because I live in Texas, man. Shit, everybody over here talking like this and shit all the time. God damn. We have a certain drawl over here, and that's all I'm used to. Anyway.
Yeah. We have Scouse on one side and Manc on the other, so you don't really want either of those accents. If you get an angry Scouser from Liverpool really going for it, it's. You can check this out. Go on the internet and have a look at Lilo and Stitch, and they've overdubbed it with Scouse shouting insults. So if you go and find that Lilo and Stitch Scouse dub or Scouse version on the internet, you'll be crying with laughing within 2 minutes, assuming you can understand a word they say.
I love it. But
yeah,
Sean's father's from I don't know where in Scotland, but when when Sean's father would come over, he'd be like, to America when I was a kid growing up, I can't do it. I'm going to do it injustice, but I couldn't understand what he was saying. Sean boy, what the fuck are you doing?
That's it.
What the fuck did he just say? I heard fuck and Sean. Yeah. And then that's how the whole thing would be. And you just had to kind of okay, you'd cherry pick your words. And then that's how you understood what they were saying. Yeah.
Glasgow, you'll be able to follow Edinburgh, but not Glasgow. That sounds like Glasgow.
Okay. What the fuck are you doing? It was real quick.
I worked for an oil and gas company that was based out of Aberdeen. And man, yeah, sometimes you get those guys and they just talk with the back of their throats. And it's really hard to understand them.
Fucking music. We're talking music here today. We're frequency theorists theorizing now on talking, which is perfect because it's a frequency, right? That's all makes sense. Marisa, what kind of accents you getting up there in New York?
Where we are, it's just okay, this is weird to just point out because it's not about accents, but I feel like the only blonde in town. And I'm a fake blonde, but all the women here are classic, Italian looking women. And they all have the same super thick, amazing accent where you always feel like you're being scolded a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Of oh God, what did I do? And I'm if you ask my husband, how's Marisa at doing accents? He will just say, no, don't have her do it because it's just terrible. I'll try to do an English accent and I'll sound Jamaican. And it's I don't know, maybe it's a cool skill to have, but I'm just the worst at accents. But yeah, basically everywhere here, I feel like I'm low key being scolded. And that's been something I've had to get used to over the last 2 years since we moved here.
I heard somebody on the news the other day, AOC was doing a thing for migrants or whatever. And then there were some protesters that were really loud, but they were in New York and they're, I think they were in New York City and they had that real thick New York accent. And I don't think I can do a New York accent, but it was I heard it and I was like, that is a woman from New York. I can't do it. I will ruin it. Lobster, can you do a New York?
I've been watching lots of. I've never watched it before, and I ran out of things to watch. I've been watching The Sopranos. So
yeah. So you think you got
What's
it?
the matter with you? What are we talking about? Yeah, that's the worst accent. And the crazy thing is it sounds nothing like an Italian accent. I think that's just a Jersey Italian kind of thing Jersey, right New there. York, I don't even think that's Italian. How they sound in Italy or anything like that.
Dude, in Italy, when I went to Italy, we went, and you just said Italy, so it brought this up, but we were playing a show. And first of all, they don't have regular toilets, at least not in the venues. It's a porcelain thing in the ground with 2 places to put your feet and a hole, and which was interesting when you have to poop. So Marisa, what were we going to call this show? Poop?
Poop Palace on the Moon, perhaps.
Poop Palace on the Moon, perhaps, maybe the new name of the show, but we'll see.
I mean,
but
think
anyway,
of like the logo options, endless.
Yeah. So we went over there and we were playing this show, and we had a legitimate Italian meal, 5 courses, big, beautiful, just like the best Italian food I've ever eaten. And we were like, the band was like, we need to thank the chefs. This is probably some of the best food we've ever had. And they bring the chefs out, and everybody in the whole family, and they're all Asian. And they spoke perfect Italian. I was like, where the fuck am I? But it's weird. You see Asians over here and they speak perfect English. So, why wouldn't it be in the rest of the world? But when you think Italy and you've just eaten this amazing meal, and you're like, I've just eaten the most traditional Italian food ever, and it's an Asian family that good. And it was great, but it just threw you off just a little bit. Like there's just that much of a glitch in the matrix where you're like, I don't think this program is working right now.
I'm gonna get slightly archaeologically nerdy here because
Okay, cool.
there's the first curry. Everyone says curry, and you're like, whoa, yeah, curry. Just go out for an Indian and this, that, and the other. The first curry powder ever was made in the UK in Bristol, and it's called Bristol Ships Curry Number 1, and it was a powder designed for preserving things in barrels.
Whoa.
And when that eventually got traded across to India, they got hold of this Bristol Ships Curry Number 1, and the rest, as they say, is history.
That makes sense because you guys had such a large trading thing with India.
1700s. It was invented in something like 1723 in Bristol, a couple 100 miles down the road from where I am. So it's not, if you talk to them, they'll say, oh, no, we don't. Curry's not ours. We didn't invent the curry.
We have a thing. We have steak sauce over here that it's called A1. And A1, if you look at when the A1 steak sauce was invented, it was invented right smack dab in the middle of the Civil War. And that's because all the men were off fighting and all the meat was rotting at home, and rotting in the battlefild, and they needed it to taste better. And so they made A1, and that's why your steaks can taste better with A1, everybody. And I love that shit. Like I sacrilege in Texas. If somebody asks for steak sauce after you've made them a steak, it's like, what? No, it's a sack. It's not cool, but it doesn't matter. I've developed a taste for that stuff. I don't know why. I love it. Okay. So we went down a random rabbit hole.
My fault. My bad. It's me again.
I love it. That's why I love having you on.
I want to ask something about everyone. I want to know what you guys think of the little alien bodies that showed up at the Mexican. I'm assuming you guys saw this, like the Mexican. They brought in 2 little bodies or something like that. That they said they're like 1800 years old or something like that. And
I'm interested to understand what Mark thinks about this because I know what I think about it right off the bat. But that's
do you know when people say occasionally in the universe, creates coincidences? You're talking to the archaeologists that did the identification on the original photographs and X-rays for those bodies.
Oh, really?
I am the man that did it. If you go back to 2000 and whatever, 1, 2, 3, whenever it was very early in the 2000s, Steve Mera from Zohar went over there and he did a mini documentary on the original 5 alien bodies that were found. And he basically X-rayed them and all the rest of it. And then he came over here, and because I've known him for so many years, and he actually filmed this. I don't know where the footage is. It'd be out there on the internet somewhere. And he filmed coming to my house and saying, as an archaeologist, what do you make of this? And he, got all the photos and everything out, the X-rays, which I've still got somewhere. And I said, oh, hang on a minute, Steve, I can tell you exactly what that is. And he'll tell you this to this day. I wandered into the other room and wandered back with a dog skull. And I said, saw the front off a dog skull, and that's what you've got on your X-rays. And we literally put this dog skull onto the X-ray plate, and it's the same. That's what the heads are made from. So the original debunking, hey, that was me. I debunked the original. And you have a look at the ones they're putting out now. They're basically exactly the same as the ones we were looking at whenever it was 15, 20 years ago.
So I don't know if you saw
just smaller.
They just did this past week. So these bodies, they said, were found in 2017, I think, in Peru or something like that. Yeah, I don't know. The guy has been proven wrong multiple times, from what I understand. Like, I don't think he's malicious. I don't know. He's never been caught doing anything malicious, but like he's been debunked, I guess, multiple times. But I mean, it's just kind of funny that he was able to bring the bodies into like the Mexican Congress and display them in front of everyone. They're like two little tiny ET bodies.
They looked fake as fuck to me.
Yeah,
I think it was cake. I think it was cake.
Well, the kicker is that when they actually when they carbon date them, they get this astronomical age from them or whatever, but that's the stuff they've been rolled in. It's the cave deposit. So cake is a good way of putting it. They're basically a bag of random bones coated in whatever coating they've decided to put them in, papier-mâché or whatever, and then they take them into the caves and roll them in the dirt so that they end up coming out old, and then any dating techniques is filled by the dirt that's on the outside.
Right.
But no, they're just complete nonsense. I'm so tempted to put some of Steve's early photos up, but I'd have to get permission to do it. But the interview might be out there somewhere with me and Steve. Might even be in his original film. You never know. I don't know if it made it to the film.
I do think I remember being on a show with you where we I feel like we touched on that at some point.
Possibly, yeah.
So that's
thinking about it. It might have been 2006. Thinking about it, I think that's the date that springs to mind.
I think, when I saw the photos, I was like, nah,
Nope, hard pass.
Yeah, that's not. I don't know. I've had dreams of aliens. Well, so we can go with whatever that means. You can go into that whole like, oh, well, that was real. It actually happened. Or I was just fucking dreaming about it because I watched Fire in the Sky before I fell asleep, But like I've never actually seen a gray, or when you talk to me and Marissa's friends, Heather, about this stuff, and you go into like the galactic universe. I'm not even going to jump into that. It's too big for me and I'm too new into learning about this stuff. But like, there's places, if all of this stuff is real, these beings exist, so we should be finding stuff. It's just like Bigfoot. I know for a fact I've seen Bigfoot, but there's no bodies. Like there's no bodies. Every time somebody comes up with a body, it's some dead horse that somebody had in the field and they throw it in a refrigerator and like, oh, look at this mangled thing. It's Bigfoot. You never find anything. And when you do find hair that can't be identified, like hair or footprints, it's always hair and footprints. And so somebody's gotten really good and really detailed about putting the ridges of your fingers and your hands in a piece of wood and stamping that in the ground. Or these things really exist. Again, I know I've seen it, but that doesn't mean that it was actually a Bigfoot, because why is Bigfoot always blurry, right? He's even blurry in my fucking mind. So he's like, maybe it's not real. There's something funny about half of the extraterrestrial stuff, the Bigfoot thing, the Loch Ness Monster. You're over there in Scotland and stuff. So like, how far is Loch Ness from you, Mark?
About 400 miles, which is nothing in American. What's that? Texas. 350 kilometers or something. I don't quite know how it converts.
400 miles will take me 7 hours to drive here.
Look who's just turned up.
Oh, the cat.
There's a thing about you can't put me on the internet without him turning up, so he's gone over there.
I love it.
He's my alien invader. I can throw two things in, actually. First of all, Bigfoot. Somewhere, and I can't remember which program it was on, but there's somewhere some guy had screwed a panel onto his door, and the panel had come off the door, so it was lying on the floor with screws sticking up. And apparently the Bigfoot that visited his cabin trod on the screws.
Oh,
so they
DNA.
got blood and hair, and it turned out to be exotic. So you could go and try and check that up. And the other one, of course, UFOs. It's the debris that I helped to identify.
UK's Roswell, right?
Europe's Roswell, 2008, which was the documentary. And I have been totally banned from telling anybody what the results of the recent tests are. So you know where this is going. Yeah. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you what they are. We sent one off to Australia, one off to America, and we're doing another test here in the UK. We haven't had the UK results back yet, but we had the Australian one back, and their sample, they said, oh, it's duralumin. Well, I've done my diligence on that, and that's just like a trade name for an aluminium alloy. But the other one, are you ready for this? The American lab, it's lanthanum. Now, lanthanum is an exotic and strange metal, and it's only found in things like comets and asteroids and other galaxies, and we've got lanthium. Now, some of the sheets of this stuff were like 6 foot, 2 meters. So, where the hell are you going to get a 2 meter sheet of lanthium from? It's exotic. So I can exclusively for you tonight reveal that when the book comes out in November, because it's due out the first week of November, book version, that's the results that are going to be in the back of it. So we have a piece of something extraterrestrial,
dude, and that's fucking cool as shit. Like that's one of the things I've been thinking about when the extraterrestrial stuff, like, not everybody's solar system's made of the same stuff. I'm reading these books. I read this book called The Fall of Satan. It's purely fictional. It's a great book, but in the book it talks about Satan, Michael, and Gabriel and how they live in heaven. But heaven's not like heaven like you're taught as a Christian. It's in another world, it's in another place. And they're like, we're made of silica. Why are we going to go over to this place that's made of matter? Like, fuck matter or whatever. It's just stupid. It's fictional and it's fun. But thinking about that, like if somebody was coming to us from another galaxy or another planet or whatever, none of their stuff would make any sense. Why? And then why would they be in the same stupid body? Like, why would they have 2 arms and 2 legs and walk upright when walking around like a spider is so much easier? If you have more, why would they evolve that way? Now, there might be something to that. There might be a reason. Maybe we're looking at past us coming back, or maybe we're looking at the birthplace of where we came from and we were just seeded from another place. I don't know. And that's why we're
If there's anything I've learned from watching literally every episode of Star Trek that was ever made, it's that all aliens have 2 hands, 2 feet, and 2 eyes.
I say exactly the same thing when I'm on an interview. The Star Trek syndrome, we've only got the budget to do that, and that's as far as it goes.
That's as far as it goes. Yeah. But like, at least the Simpsons, oh my God, and the Simpsons predict everything, right? So like, their aliens are squids, right? Like, they're the big green ones, and they have 1 eyeball in the front of their head, and they have a deep voice and talk weird, and everything the Simpsons have ever predicted accidentally has really happened, which is something fucked up. Have y'all noticed that? Like, if you want to go see the future, go watch an old Simpsons episode. Like, watching Trump come down the elevator, they did that like 10 years before it ever even happened, as president. I don't, and it's like every single Simpsons episode has some type of weird hidden meaning that ends up coming true, and I think that's a little freaky.
I think there's a Masonic connection there somewhere as well. I seem to remember there's loads of Masonic stuff going on in The Simpsons. So maybe the men in the grey suits, the New World Order that we never get to know about, are feeding information in there. I loved stirring the pot. I don't want to go too conspiracy though, because some idiot somewhere will take the broadcast down. So don't want to get you censored.
It's already happened. It's happened to me once. It was super great. I was talking about the plague and and some stuff, and me and Vincent Fink, his episode is up over on Rumble, because Rumble will allow me to talk about whatever the fuck I want, unlike YouTube. And so anyway, that's a different story. I'm not going to go into it because the overlords will take us down. And I don't like the fact that we live in 1984, but apparently we do. That's a different story. So we're going to step off that actually, you know what? Fuck it. Fuck them.
What have I done? What have I done?
Nothing to see here, minding my own business, and back to it. They literally, if you say something that seems like the information is wrong to them, then they go and take it down. Okay. I understand this. You signed up for a platform, all that crap that when you signed your name and your email and stuff that says 900 million things that no one reads, they have the right to take down poop. They totally do. For some reason, we feel like this is a free speech platform, or they should all be a free speech platform, as long as you're not doing anything to hurt anybody. And I think just having great conversations about whatever it is you think is how it should be, and is where we should go with this. We should be able to have intelligent conversation. Mark, you and I might not agree on some things, or me and Lobster, or me and Marisa, we might not all agree on the same thing, but we can sit here and have an intelligent debate or conversation about something. So if I call it the plandemic, which is what I pretty much call it all the time, you might not agree with that, and we can have this discussion, and that should be allowed. Again, we're not hurting anybody with this information, but their AI over at Google just listen to whatever, and they listen to the whole episode, and you have your episode up for like 4 hours, and then it takes it down, and now you have a strike. Like, bad on you for talking. don't talk.
You went off script and you shouldn't have done that. So I hope you learned your lesson. Here's the script as a reminder in case you forgot.
Okay,
So
over.
I use the AI generator platform Midjourney a lot, and it's very restrictive in what you can use. So you're not getting violent and terrible images and stuff on your prompts. But just using the word violence is will get you banned because you're using the word violence. And so they don't want to create because it'll create that image or whatever. But you're always trying to redo your prompt and try to make it change so you can get like the image that you're trying to get. But it's weird. Yeah, you find ways around it. I mean, I think that's an inherent issue with technology that will get possibly better over time. That is if the world doesn't self-destruct and implode before then. But I think that kind of stuff will get better over time, and I think that they are actively trying to they're probably trying to make their platform better, so they're probably trying to do that, but they have to have something in place. And it just so happens that you were collateral damage in that that race for them to try to, because there are things on the that people are putting on these platforms that are dangerous, that are inciting ideas. There's Nazis, there's people like really hateful groups and stuff like that are posting their stuff on YouTube, posting their stuff on Instagram, and how do you, when you look at the amount of data that is getting uploaded to YouTube every day, how do you manage that in any kind of realistic way? The only way to do it is through some kind of automated process or something like that, right? And so but they just need an avenue that when you're wrongly I don't know what the process is for YouTube, but maybe you could I'm sure there's a way for you to say, hey,
I know
this isn't right.
I tried to. They wouldn't even let me do that. I couldn't even protest it. But I know what I did wrong. I had me. And Vinny,
and you could also just go back and cut out that little bit and then repost your video. Because it's probably I think it was like a 30-second bit in your video or something like that, where you guys talked about something and then it didn't like that, so you could have just cut that out or something, right? And then
literally. Yeah, I'm not going to say what I said.
Yeah, don't say it. Whatever.
But we were talking about. We were talking about these certain points, and so all I have to do is go back in the editing process. I'll go edit it, and I can bleep out the words. There's the trigger. It's the trigger words that the AI are picking up, and so, and I think you say it too many times, and it's like, nope, pull it. And I don't think anybody.
But they have to be careful too. It would be really nice if they did something where they showed you exactly what it was that caused your video to get banned. But then if they show that, then people that are trying to do harmful things are going to be like, oh, okay, well now we have this information that we can use to try to circumvent those guardrails and stuff like that. So it's just a sticky situation. It's hard. It's not. I don't think there's any easy answers there. I get your hate for the big corporate, overlords and stuff like that. And
it's when you start talking and you feel like you're talking about when you start awakening, or whatever word you want to call it, when you start seeing that all the regular media is just feeding you poop all the time, and I know people
not only that, but violence.
So much poop.
They get to choose what violence you see, but you can't express anything that they are going to deem as violent, even if it's not, but it's just your own opinion or your own explorations. They're like, no, we prescribe you the violence we want. Otherwise, you're kicked off, you're deplatformed, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, but it's no one's forcing anything on anyone. You can choose to turn off the news. I don't watch the news. I just don't watch it. I read news stories and stuff like that. And there's a danger to that too. You'll have, is it the circular thing where your news platforms are, oh, you like these articles, so it's just going to show you more of those articles, and so you're always clicking on the same articles and stuff like that, and then you're just a feedback loop, So there's dangers to that too. But you do get to choose. You don't have to post this video on YouTube, and you could create your own website and post your own videos to it, and no one can say anything to that. Or maybe the web hosting company would, and they could take it down, or it just
There's options out there. There's options out there. You can do whatever you want. I love that Rumble's coming up a little bit. Nothing is going to beat the juggernaut of YouTube, at least not yet. Like, I mean, Google, when they purchased YouTube, I remember before, when YouTube was its own thing, right? You guys remember that? But it was just its own entity. Google didn't own it. And it was awesome. That was back in the day when you would click on a video, go make yourself a sandwich in the kitchen and stuff, and come back and it was almost ready for you to watch without, because the fucking internet was so shitty. But like nothing's going to beat it yet. And so you need to release in YouTube land. You still, whether it's an edited version or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a tool and you use it, and you can do things where you like automatically post to all these platforms at the same time. You can post. Yeah, you can set it up. Post to all of them, and then like edit it if they don't like it, and then just use it as the tool that it is, and don't rely on it, and realize that like people that rely on that kind of income stream, like they're basically tying themselves to that platform and stuff like that, and it's just not. Yeah.
It was at this point that I gave up trying to censor curse words. I tried, and we'll just see what happens.
I think it makes it hard when you like really have a message that you want to get out, and you know that using the big tech platforms are your best bet, because that's where the people that you feel need to be reached are living, right? Like all these like Rumble and shit like that. Those people are kind of hip to what's going on, or at least that's how you perceive it. But then when you try to get this message out on YouTube or Facebook, even, it's you have to either choose to self-censor prior to posting or risk them shutting your shit down. And then if you're trying to monetize it, then you can't make that money. You're not reaching who you need to reach. And like, to take it back to music, I feel like this is happening a lot with music people. The music people. I don't know why I said it that way. That was interesting.
That's what we are.
Capital letters. Yes, the music people. Like musicians are trying to sneak in. I don't even know if they're sneaking it in, but their ideas about what's going on in the world into the songs. And I was actually just reading up on this yesterday, I think, about like banned music lists, like through time. And whenever there's big like uprisings, upheavals happening, where there's like a huge, manipulated division happening, all of these musicians that are trying to talk about the shit and just kind of spin ideas and help people awaken and just explore, their songs just get like booted, or you got to change it, or else it's not going to get played. And I feel like, for me personally, I don't believe in any kind of censorship, because I don't know, like people say money is the root of all evil, but I feel like censorship really is, because once you start, it's such a slippery slope. And then before you know it, you're censoring yourself just naturally. And it's like, you've been trained to just say, oh, it's like you have your own AI inside of you, where you're just like booting out certain words or certain ideas because you know how it's going to be received. So I just think that's sad that like music is such a great form of self-expression and healing and gathering people together of like minds, and of bringing people together that don't have the like-mindedness, but they can agree on the music or the tone of the song or the message of the song. And it's just like, damn, even art isn't untouchable when it comes to ideas and freedom. I'm just going to go on a long rant now. But did you know, fun fact, that brown-eyed girl used to be brown-skinned girl?
Really?
Ooh.
I did not know that. They were like, that's racist, change it.
Yeah, it was like, that it was about an interracial couple, and they didn't want to have that on the airwaves. So it was changed to brown-eyed girl. I was like, I did not see that coming.
They did all that stuff back in the day, like when they had the Doors on, and they said, okay, so in your song, the hit song, don't say higher or whatever, get me higher. And so what did he do? He went out there and fucking did it on air, and they cut him off. And it was like,
the best one of those is Rage Against the Machine live at the BBC. You can imagine where that went.
Dude, when they were actually raging against the machine before they became part of the machine, they were like fucking just on top of it, dude.
Yeah.
They're on the Crow soundtrack. Let's go back to the Crow soundtrack. They're on there, and he's talking about conquistadors in that song, and like, now it's like when you watch them and if they would have just not started talking, like, this is the thing where I think a lot of bands and artists, it just depends. If that's what you want to, if you want to be political and you want to talk politics, that's cool. But you got to realize you're going to alienate the half of your audience by doing so. So like the lead singer of Metallica, he refuses to talk about what side of the aisle he's on. And I respect him for that. you can kind of tell because he said, well, I moved out of San Francisco to Vail, Colorado, because when I'm driving through San Francisco with a deer on the hood of my truck, they don't really like that there. And so you kind of figure out where he lies, but he pretty much doesn't say anything. And Rage Against the Machine used to not say anything either. Now they're speaking out about what they're raging against, and you're going, but that doesn't this your name of the band and what you're this doesn't work. You're part of it now. Like, I don't, what happened to you?
Tom Morello is one of his new tracks is with Baby Metal, which
Is
I find
it really?
crazy. Yeah. So they play that song on the concert, and he like comes on they have a screen in the back, and he just plays like a guitar solo riff in the back, and it's just kind of funny because Baby Metal, I think the inception of Baby Metal was it's very corporate. It's very I mean, they basically hired some these girls which were they were in pop bands, and then they kind of put them in with these metal bands and started doing that. I mean, they've grown through this, and I think they're amazing, but it's just kind of funny that, he attached himself to that. But apparently he wanted to work with them for a long time, from what I hear.
Yeah, well, they're good, they're fun, and Tom Morello is an amazing guitar player, and like he's got this song where he's playing "Hold the Line." I don't know who the singer is, I don't know, but it's his, definitely. You're like, oh, that's Rage Against the Machine. And what was the band he was in with Chris Cornell? Y'all remember? It was like a big deal.
Velvet Revolver?
No,
that was.
Here comes Google. Stupid.
All of a sudden we've gone corporate.
I don't need information. It's all in this little device.
I don't need you, Google. Uh-oh. The screen went blank, and it's doing crazy things. It's yelling at me now.
Your account has been terminated.
Yeah, you've been zapped.
Anyway. I don't know what's happening. I'm at a party I don't want to be at, apparently. What the fuck is going on?
There you go.
Stop.
You have a flip phone? Oh my gosh, you have one of those. Is it a Razor?
No, it's the Samsung Z4. They just had a 5 come out. They're pretty fun, but I will say wait till the technology gets better, because I've had this.
You see the crease.
You see the crease, but the crease is also cracking on the edges.
Oh, really?
They said it's good for about 200. Oh,
I've got a flip one, but it's one of those.
Dude, that's where it's at. That's where I want to go back.
There you go.
I want to go back to those.
I love these. I really do. I wouldn't give them up for all the world.
It's so satisfying to hang up on someone.
Oh,
like,
well, a certain generation will get this okay, because you do that and you go, beam me up, Scotty.
That's right. No, and
the funny thing is, smartphones took over for a long time, but they still had flip phones in all the TVs and movies, because Hollywood didn't know how to, symbolize someone answering and ending a phone call without that actual flip open and close.
Close it. Yeah.
Yeah. I am done with this conversation.
Oh, that is so satisfying. And guess what? I do not use Google or anything like that on that. It is just a phone. That's what it is.
I love that. That's fantastic. You guys, we're gonna put this one to bed. But before we do, I brought a beer out here because I wanted to drink one with you, and it's this one I talked to Marisa about. It's called Ghost in the Machine. Mark, you and me talked about it before.
Yeah.
It says something on the sides about our collective human consciousness, and just reading the descriptions what made me want to start it. So I'm going to open this beer up and have a sip of it. And while we do that, I would like you guys to give me some songs to add to the Spotify playlist that we are either oh my God, it's blowing up all over my desk. Okay, cool. That's
because you shook it.
Yeah, that's what I get.
That's what you get.
I love that. That's what it, because I don't think you shared with me that that's what it says on the beer. You just sent me a picture of the name.
Oh, okay.
But that's super cool.
Let me see the label. Hold it up to the camera.
Yeah.
Let's
Ghost in the
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And then it's got hops all over it. And then I don't know if y'all can. It's too blurry. It's too blurry, but it's got the whole collective human consciousness thing on there. I was like, well, I'm getting that, and I can tell you right off the bat, it's all hops. It's all hops. I mean, so that's why they sell them in a 4-pack. So I'll only have probably half of that. All right, Mark, what's a song you'd like to add to the playlist? Let me grab my pen.
Oh, I knew you were going to ask me first, and I wasn't, as usual, I wasn't ready for this. So you might have a job finding this, actually, but And you're gonna. This is gonna surprise you. This, and it's gonna make you smile. Go and find ZZ Top and Elvis Presley doing "Viva Las Vegas."
Okay, dude. ZZ
I
Top.
stumbled on it the other day. I'd forgotten I'd even got it, and I had first heard it in one of these CSI TV programs, and I thought, "What the hell is that?
So
How
is
have
it
they
real?
done that?" It's
Is it
real. It really exists. They got
like
Elvis, took him off Viva Las Vegas, and
okay.
all the backing's done by ZZ Top. And it's from that Eliminator period when they were doing songs like Legs and all that sort of stuff. And that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
And honestly, it just talking about something that takes you back, but at the same time, it's just such a clever thing. There's a 12-inch mix, there's a 7-inch mix. ZZ Top and Elvis Presley, Viva Las Vegas. There you go.
Perfect.
I bowled you a googly, as they say in cricket.
Dude, I don't know anything about cricket. There's a cricket course here.
Oh, no, that's just, bowling a googly is when they throw you one that just goes where the hell it wants. So,
Bowling. I'm writing this down because I'm going to say
Yeah, I kind of want to record you saying that and then make that my alarm clock. I would love to
Hey!
Yeah. Marisa said something to me the other day, used a word, curmudgeon. Was it curmudgeon?
Curmudgeon.
And I was like, what the? Okay, this is my new favorite word. So I'm all about using new words and new phrases. So now I've got a new phrase, a new song, and some awesome stuff to.
Is that perchance the Irish term for a bit of a foul up when something goes slightly wrong? Is that what that is? What is it?
But you're gonna have to ask Marisa.
Irish.
No,
yeah, I don't know.
It sounds Gaelic.
I mean, it's more like it's like a personality trait, right? Like, oh, he's being such a curmudgeon. Like, God, everything's a big old bummer. Yeah.
It does sound. It does sound Gaelic. My friend Rob, not Robsta The Lobster here, but Rob, the drummer for Six Past Hell, he says he speaks Gaelic. And one time I got drunk with him and we were hanging out, and he was like, "Oh, hold on, I'll call my buddy." And he called his buddy. He's like, "Let's speak in our language." And then they started speaking this thing, and I was like, "What the fuck?" Like,
oh yeah.
I was like, "Holy shit!" And like, I mean, they're big Irish, Scottish guys, I guess. Anyway, cool dudes. Marisa, what is a song you would like to share or want us all to hear?
So there's an album by the Kinks. I think I mentioned to you the other day that I went deep into the Kinks one year when my band was doing Kinks cover night. And I had never done that. I just knew the typical Kinks songs and I wasn't really like a fan. I was like, yeah, it's fine, whatever. But in the deep dive, I discovered this one album. There's an album called Muswell Hillbillies, but I feel like that's pretty well known. But the one I'm going to suggest is called Schoolboys in Disgrace is the album. And the song on it is School Days. I think that because we're like talking about time machines and music and going back to school and whatnot. So School Days, it's one of those songs that is like emotional and nostalgic. And I feel like no matter what age you are, it makes you long for something that you can't quite put your finger on. Something that you're missing, but you're like, what exactly am I missing?
I love it. I realize that Brandon always like starts playing these songs. Well, we'll try to figure out how to do that later. So, okay, cool. We got that. Lobster, what's yours?
Well, I wanted to say on ZZ Top, I heard someone the other day, yesterday, I learned of this guy, Wheeler Walker Jr.
Yeah.
Don't listen to him. He's a misogynistic pig. It's terrible.
Oh.
But he sounds like ZZ Top. They actually have a pretty good sound. It sounds like ZZ Top, but all his things are like his songs are like Born to Fuck or like, like just random.
I know who you're talking about. It's almost
it's pretty funny though.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna put in Charles Mingus, Moanin', and if you listen to it, it's just crazy. It was recorded live with a big band, and you could just hear him. He's directing this band, and he's just screaming at the top of his lungs, kind of like at the peak of the song, just like yes, he's just so excited and so happy by the music and stuff like that.
The song's called what? Moanin'?
Moanin' with apostrophe. Yeah. Charles Mingus.
I'm not the best speller in the world, so we're just gonna hopefully Google will understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Moanin'.
Yeah, you're gonna get some pretty strange hits if you happen to get that wrong.
Yeah. Probably don't click on the photo
by strange,
section.
You mean awesome?
Well, yeah.
By strange, we mean sex.
Yeah. Are we allowed to say that?
I don't know what
we're all born to fuck, right?
Hey, you guys, we are, dude. This guy I had the guy from Goat and Your Mom on. You guys might know him from Tosh.0. He was the dude 10, 15 years ago on Tosh.0 whenever this thing came out. He was the guy from Texas wearing a cowboy hat, a Texas flag like cape, and a Texas flag bikini. And he was just sitting there gyrating his manhood, and having his friend come up and like poke at it while he was singing a song called "Do You Quack Like a Duck When You Fuck." Anyways, really fucked off, and Tosh.0 made fun of him for it. And anyway, we had him on the show. I just released the episode today, and he was talking about all this fucking censorship and all this stuff you can't say, and you know the stuff you wish you could do, but back in 15 years ago, you could get away with this stuff, and now all of a sudden you do something like that, and you're banned. So fun. I don't know where I was going with that, but this was a great hang, you guys. I want to do this again. When would be a good time for y'all? Actually, you know what? Let's end the episode. I'll end the recording, and then we'll figure this all out. So, what's up, everybody? We did this whole thing. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.
I'm gonna do the baby metal duck. How do you do it? Oh yeah, like that. Okay, perfect.
Baby metal.